Hey everybody, this is Brittany here with Surfing Waves of Light. It is 3 in the morning and I just got home from a big evening, a very fun, beautiful evening, and I've been listening to a lot of British stuff, so this is how my voice is going to be for the video, and it may change, but I am here because I'm receiving some really big downloads right now, and my guides have kindly asked me to relay them in video form and document them for my own personal growth and for the benefit of anyone who chooses to watch this channel. So today I'm going to be talking about time and why it's really, really essential to slow down right now. Why slowing down is of the utmost importance. I love this British voice. So, here's what they have been saying. Right now, we are at a juxtaposition point in time. Time is managed in linear time and in non-linear time. And this juxtapoint is a point where the energies are being heightened to a degree that they have not been before. And so many spiritual humans who are aware of their spiritual selves, have been wondering for a while now, many years, if not longer, why can't we just fast forward immediately to the fifth dimension? Why can't we just change? Why can't there be this external power that comes in and helps facilitate and shifts us all back to community and simplicity and loving the land? If there is this all-powerful, all-healing God, why can't he do that? Why isn't it faster? The reason is we have all been so deeply programmed with lower frequency thoughts and ideas that as the dimensional frequency gets turned up, which is what is the energetic predication of the fifth dimension, with that volume enhancement, the speed of thought to response increases. So right now in the third dimension, we are living in a highly separated state. Each dimension has its own ways of dealing with time. So in the third dimension, time can be manipulated in certain ways as it can in the fourth and fifth dimension. In the third dimension, there is a lot of time between a thought and the manifestation, depending on different variables, how many people are focusing on it, what spiritual entities are also part of it, what polarity in the environment is it supercharged for. We've been in a third dimension that has had a negative polarity. So, negative energy, by the rules of this game, negative energies and thoughts have been favored and expedited over fifth dimensional or loving thoughts, because third dimension is in a more dense resonancy, is in a more resonance with density. Lower, negative, unloving thoughts resonate there. So they are accentuated here in that dimension. So what's happening now is we are in the third, fourth, fifth dimension. See my video on acclimatization to understand how this goes. We go up to the fifth sometimes, we come back to fourth, sometimes back down to third. It's a grueling journey, an ascension process, and it's also really fun. So the way that time is working right now is we are in this juxtaposition, this really critical moment that's technically outside of time. That's how it's measured in this marker. But right now we're experiencing it in time. And so within this time, as the volume gets turned up, all thoughts are being turned up equally. And in that way, if our minds are still deeply engaged in co-creating with fear, in having any fear, which we're jam-packed full of, this speeding up will equally favor the light thoughts, helping us to co-create the lives we wanted and want, and our dark thoughts, any fears. For example, for me, would be like getting attacked by a shark or going to prison. I really love my freedom. And so, one of the ways that we can manipulate time, so to speak, is by slowing down. Because really unloving thought, ideas, and actions can only occur when we're rushing. Because a spirit that is in a human body, that is grounded and centered, meaning that the spirit energy is being felt deeply and fully in the heart chakra, connected to the earth, with also the awareness of the spiritual dimension. When a being exists in that state, they will always have the guidance to navigate fear. And in fact, they will also almost always choose to be loving, unconditionally loving. Because when a being is slowed and they feel, it is impossible for them to not choose love. Why wouldn't you? In fact, the third dimension is full of situations that are literally meant to trick us into choosing fear and unloving thoughts and ideas for our soul's highest good. Because our soul came into this dimension to experience these not so great things. That was part of the journey. That is part of this experience. But now, another moment outside of time. So right now we're in the juxtaposition timeline outside of time. I'm not exactly sure when in the time, the linear time that we live in, but at some point there was a collective higher soul decision that enough suffering, pain, and unlovingness had been experienced. And so once that moment in time outside of time was determined, from that point on, all pathways to love were further ignited. Now, because linear time is much slower than infinite non-linear time, just because a collective higher soul decision is made, it still has to play out here in these dimensions. So it's like a wave coming out and pulsing. And so we'll have pulsing moments, right? Fifth dimension, third dimension, right? As this energy moves through. But at first, the spaces are farther and fewer between, right? A pulse of the fifth dimension in the 70s, we'll say, was like once in a while. But then it went back down for a while. Long periods, well, right? Out in the ocean, coming really far across. And now as a swell gets closer to a shore, depending on, and I'm not an oceanographer, I'm just a basic surfer, went up the street to surf because I loved it. As it gets closer to shore, we will just say, sometimes the wave intervals get shorter. And that is what's happening now with love. We're getting a lot more taste of the fifth dimension. But that means that time and energy and thoughts are speeding up. There's more waves. Fifth dimensional energy can still be used for the negative or the positive polarity. So we have this high frequency energy that is moving through us more and more frequently now. So you will start to see crazier things happening. We've already seen this with the weather, with the northern lights, with bear attacks are on the rise in the West Coast, and actually I don't even know where Saskatchewan is, but there was just a bear attack in Saskatchewan. Now, that's not to say that you're going to be attacked by a bear, but it's just to be in the awareness that if you do have a fear and you are rushing or you are trying to live out ego timelines, those timelines are going to be heightened. So there is a protectiveness to when the energies are slower. When you live in the third dimension, things do not manifest as quickly. And yet, when you live in the fifth dimension, they are more quick. But you need to have creator level discernment in order to ride those waves. Again, surfing analogy incoming, it would be like someone riding a really giant wave and not having the right board, right? So like, it's great. It's a big wave. It could be the best ride of your life. But if you don't have the right equipment, you have let's say you're riding a short board on like a large Maverick day on really big waves, you need a bigger board. Again, not a big wave surfer, but you need a bigger board because you need the momentum and the speed to catch the wave and get on it. So if you're riding a shortboard, and yes, some great surfers have been able to ride really big waves on shortboards, and if you are like a master, it's all good. But most of us are not masters, and so we still are dealing with a lot of uncomfortable ideas and thoughts and energies in our mind. So you may have noticed over this past winter, this spring, just in the past few years, a lot of things have been surfacing, and it's been uncomfortable. A lot of situations that have been really testing who you are and forcing you to grow in deeply uncomfortable ways. This is and has been occurring because there has been a really aggressive attempt by the guides and teachers to rid from us through situation and experience as much low frequency thoughts and ideas as possible, helping us to live things out in a way that is not super frightening, doesn't involve being mauled by a bear or going to prison, but still allowing the same gravitas so that we can see the fear, experience the fear, and then recognize that it's not real, and also know our power within that. And so there is a HBO documentary out right now about Dean Potter. And one of the things he kept saying was that he noticed when he was in these like life or death situations, they were calling it the death consequence, that he found that he had this superpower, this clarity. And so you don't have to walk a tightrope or free solo a mountain to have that experience. Some people need to have very extreme experiences in this dimension. Not everyone is here to do that, but you can have your own miniature experiences with the same weight, and that smaller experience can still facilitate that healing in the mind, that shifting, that releasing of the fear so that it's not anchored to your body. But when your fears are anchored, then they have the opportunity to be highlighted. And so when the mind is less full of low frequency thoughts, it's much easier when one of these waves come for you to ride it effectively because you're not weighed down. And also there's just not like a lot of turbulence. You can think of these negative thoughts and feelings and fears and all that stuff, resentments, guilt, shame. You can think of it as turbulence. So when you want to ride a really big wave, ideally you don't want there to be a lot of chop on the surface. So if the wind is in the wrong direction, or there's a lot of other swells that are like not aligned with that wave, riding the face of a wave with a lot of chop, especially a big wave, makes it way more dangerous and way harder than without the chop. And so that is what is happening right now. And we're in this juxtaposition point. And so there's still plenty of time to release these fears. But also because this point is like that transition, it's like that sketchy, can be sketchy. It's also very exciting. It's that sketchy moment in time, which I don't know how long it's going to last because it's a moment in external time, nonlinear time. And it's a however many years, it really isn't about, and Jamie, I'm quoting you right now, thank you. It's not about linear time. It's about experiences. So right now, there's just a lot of opportunity for experiences that can shift us. But do you want to walk a tightrope without a line, or free solo a mountain, or survive a bear attack? It's still free will here. So that's still up to you, what and how you want to experience it. But you can also, one of the pros of this is you can also manipulate time by slowing yourself down. And when you're slow, you can assess the waves. You can see the energy coming. You can brace. You don't have to ride the wave. If you're not ready, you can paddle out the back and you can chill. And chilling might be the best thing to do. Maybe for the past 20 years, you've gone on a camping trip every fall with your friends, and this year you don't feel good, or this year something doesn't feel right. Okay, that is your signal to sit out the back, knowing that there's always next year, knowing that there's infinite time for experiences. And as we move deeper and deeper into the fifth dimension, so many possibilities for safety, not in the ego sense, but in the high frequency experience sense, will come. So there will be a day when we can communicate with animals. There will be a day when we can telepathically communicate with each other. There will be a day where we can fly and do all sorts of things that our minds could not even wrap around. But before we can even begin to do any of those things, we have to clear our minds. Because again, those kinds of skills and traits of the fifth dimension require really high frequency energy. And you can't run high frequency energy through a fragmented wire. And that's really all our brain is. It's a wire. It's a receiver. Our entire electrical being. We are just here to allow energy to run through us. That's it. And that's why when something happens and the emotion, whether it's a trauma or a breakup or whatever, when that emotion gets stuck, we block our channel, which is all we are. We are channels for energy. And because we have free will, we can use our bodies to be a wide open channel, free of resistance, clear and open for whatever the universe is bringing in, which is always super loving, to come and move through us and dance and create, and for better or for worse. Or we can store lots of traumas and heaviness and tumors and all that stuff in our body, and then that energy gets stuck. And then as more energy comes in, well, now that stuck energy, well, it's gonna grow because more energy is coming to it and it's not moving. And so we have to move the energy. And so our guidance, which is always coming down with the light codes from the sun and the earth and all that good stuff, it's going to grow that energy. So if like your heart chakra is blocked, you're literally going to have a blockage in your heart. If you're not saying something or not able to communicate what you need, you're going to feel some swelling or benign tumor in the throat. And it will continue to grow and grow, not because you did anything wrong or you're being punished by God or anything like that. Just literally because the energy is getting bigger, because it's even more important for you to understand it, and it's even more important for you to clear it, and it's time. So this juxtaposition point, it's a really amazing moment in external nonlinear time, but it's also a very precious and fragile moment in linear time. And so gentleness and fragility with ourselves, with our bodies, with our beings, feeling discomfort and sitting with that discomfort, not pushing it away, not allowing any resistance to remain, allowing emotions and feelings to flow in the right settings and the right places, being around places and people that facilitate that gentleness, that compassion for self, that forgiveness for not only others, which isn't nearly as important, as for ourselves. And when we're gentle with ourselves, we can recognize that no matter what has happened here in the past or is going to happen in the future, we have all, even if we've been intentional in our terribleness in some ways, we have all literally been doing the best that we can with the information, energies, and inspiration that we had. And that's it. That's really it. We must look at our past and be okay with what has happened and understand that it was all part of the plan. As I've been telling some of my clients lately, right now, this juxtaposition point, it's also a time of awakening, right? And we talk about awakening a lot, but what I specifically mean by that is one of my favorite video games growing up was Super Mario 64. If you've played that game, or if you haven't, just any video game where there's like a story, right? So in Super Mario 64, the story, when you get dropped into the character, the story is Princess Peach has been taken in her castle by Bowser. And so Bowser has taken all her stars, and put them all over the castle. And now Mario, a plumber from like Brooklyn or something, I don't even know, might be getting that from the movie, and his brother and whoever else have to storm the castle and recollect all her energy, all the stars, and beat Bowser. And I've never beaten the game, but I really hope to one day. Big aspirations here for the 3rd, 5th, 4th dimension. So, that aside. So, anyway, when Mario gets dropped in, Peach has already been kidnapped. Bowser already owns the castles, and the stars are already spread out in all these different lands. That is what you need to remember and recognize about this moment in time. Everything that's happened up until now, that is the story of the video game. Yes, have we all been waking up these past 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years? Absolutely. But none of us have really been in full and waking consciousness. Maybe some. But if you are still living any kind of normal life, the past 20, 30, 50 years has been the story. And whether consciousness has been a big part of your mind or not, unconsciousness has definitely been a big part of your mind. Because we've all come into this universe, forgot who we were. We're trained by our parents and society, which has been really intense. And then when we're finally in our 20s or 30s, we start to even begin to make decisions for ourselves. But by that point, for most of us, we're already really trapped into so many things, whether it's debt or children or commitments or obligation, expectations. All of these things can be great, except that for the most part, in our stories, we've made a lot of these commitments in the guise of the 3rd dimensional consciousness. And now we are at the point where we can wake up in our story. So whatever's happened, you have 6 kids, you have no kids, you found a husband, you didn't, you have a great job, you don't. You're waking up now. This is your chance. You are just starting to play the game. Before, you were sort of witnessing the story. You were part of it, but can you think of moments in your life where you did things that, yes, of course, we're always in control of who we are. But when you did things because you were so overcome by an energy, an emotion, whatever, and it called you to do something that you would never normally do if you were grounded and centered, something that we're still practicing to this day. And when you can think back to those moments where like, I wish I didn't do that, but I did, but you were so overcome. These were key moments in your story. And they were really important for you to become the character that you are now. And this is the great news about this juxtaposition point. This is the time where we really get to start to play the game. Before, again, we were kind of like a character that was, it was automated, right? But we witnessed it, we lived it. It was in our control, but it wasn't. But now we are gaining control back. And that control is coming because of this clarification process that we have all been in. Any of us who have lifted up our negative emotions, forgiven ourselves, we are allowed more power, creative energy by the universe because of that work. And so the sooner you do the healing work, the faster you can manifest the life that you wanted. And truly, if you started off the game with all the knowledge, with all the stars, Princess Peach is sitting in the castle with a rose, waiting for you to come, hand her another rose, I don't know, because everything's perfect. There's no adventure, there's no journey. And so that's why we sort of have to relish in everything that's occurred up until now. All the disasters, all the gnarliness, all the terrible moments. Because that is what is about to make this entire transition so fun. But we are in this really critical time where the scales are being tipped and time is speeding up. And so we just really have to be aware. If we have an emotion and we're not releasing that, the energies coming in are really going to be emphasizing that. And if we aren't finding our way, jumping in the ocean, crying it out, talking to a friend, seeing our therapist, getting an energy healing session, going for a surf, whatever it is that you do, where you come out and you feel that and that clarity and that lightness and that deep, sometimes refreshed restfulness. These are the feelings of being grounded and centered and with a clear channel. We must, as often as possible, be clear channels. For when we are able to engage these waves of light, LOL, we can actually surf the waves of light that are coming into our planet, as opposed to getting tumbled by them. And so there's no wrong decisions. And if you're meant to be mauled by a bear and live, you will. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry that if you're going to live or die or what, because that is all taken care of. But it's up to us to dictate the gentleness of the experience, because all the guides and teachers, all the universe can do is send the energies. But as God incarnate, they will not interfere with our free will. Now, of course, we need to ask them for help, absolutely, handing all challenges over. If you find yourself face to face with a bear in the woods, just a metaphor, don't think this is going to happen to anyone. That would be a great moment to call your guides and teachers in to help you, always, in any other moment. But even outside of that, anything that's coming up, any little challenge, difficulty, I don't know how to set a boundary, I don't know how to communicate this without feeling bad, I don't know how to honor myself. This is the work that must be done. And if you can slow down, and if you can feel into everything from that clarity, not from hecticness and fear and distortion and worry, if you can truly feel from that center, this time is going to be really, really magical. And even if you're not feeling, and you do get attacked by the bear, that bear attack will place you in a state of surrender. That will also make this time really, really magical. So in a lot of ways, it's all good, no matter what you do. Even if you stuff every feeling down, it's going to be okay. But in that same breath, part of how we show the guides and teachers that we are embodied God beings is through our discernment. The Course in Miracles says, be discerning, for only God and his kingdom. And when I first read that, I'm thinking of a god on a farm or something, and I'm looking for him on the farm. I don't know, that's the image I get when I see that. But as I did the course over many years and revisited that lesson many times, what I realized was God and his kingdom is all the love. And so right now we have to evaluate our entire lives and look at what is loving and what is not. And then discern, okay, I just interacted with this person and I left feeling really drained. That's not loving to the self. Okay, I need to reevaluate how much time I spend with that person now. Or I just went to do this, and yeah, I left feeling really drained. If you continue to engage with that energy, again, with these heightened, these lessons being heightened and turned up, if you continue to engage with something that you know is going to drain you, the lessons are going to get bigger. And that's all. It's just a feedback mechanism. It's not a punishment. And it's a good thing that we have pain and suffering and these lessons, because otherwise, like, we would just live out miserable lives forever, because it would like be kind of okay. And that's really what Earth has been. It's been in this state of comfort. And so it's through all these ups and downs and energies coming in the negative and the positive, that our souls have been even like reminded to awaken. Because if everything always just worked out, we would just have lived in the 3D for a long time. That was the blessing of COVID. Another time where a juxtaposition like energy, that was sort of like a small juxtaposition. It was a thin veil. A lot of people were able to come and go. Souls that like, not really up for this. Which some people aren't here to like transcend this dimension. Some people are just like, I like the 3D and that's what my soul wants. And that's fine, because at one point or another, any highly evolved soul spent a good amount of time in the third dimension. And the third dimension is such a beautiful place for developing compassion and non-judgment. Because if you've been there, if you've been a crack addict or whatever, prostitute, insert heinous, gnarly situation here, think of the worst thing you can think of the past. If you were, Hitler or whatever, like, you can develop such a deep compassion for that energy, that being, or anything like it, because you experienced it, because you were a part of it, because you lived it. And so in living it, you'll know that that person didn't feel good or powerful or happy. That only behaviors like that and lives like that are driven from deep fear, insecurity, resentment, sadness, shame, and all sorts of different motivating factors that have nothing to do with love. And so there's so much beauty here in the third dimension, and yet we've lived enough of that out. And so now slowing down and gentleness are really the tools that can allow each and every one of us to manipulate time. And I mean that in the most loving sense, not in like I'm going to manipulate time, but there's just a lot of possibility right now. And that's really what this juxtaposition is. It's possibility. And so what the guides are saying is, here's how you navigate uncertainty and possibility. You take it slow. You pull back. You attract. And maybe some of these principles in the past haven't worked, right? My dad died. I didn't really work for a long time. I used all my savings, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to meditate and chill and care for myself, which was really important. But I didn't attract like tons of opportunities or lots of money. In fact, I ran out of money, and then I was like living in survival, and then I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I was like, whoa, I'm like old, and I've had a career, and like, how did I end up like this? But it was all really purposeful. And so in the past, before this juxtaposition point, we were like preparing to use these tools. Now that the energies are heightened, this is really the time that they were meant for. Right now, this juxtaposition point. And these tools, all this spiritual stuff that's really taken hold, especially since COVID, but even before that, we've been practicing. And that's what's so brilliant about our guides and teachers in the universe. Like, they'll put a tool in front of us like 10 years before we need it, so we can practice and integrate. And they know, because they know us, because they are an aspect of us. They're the evolved aspect of us. They know how long it's going to take for us to remove the resistance, to come out of the story, and to allow that tool, that energy, to integrate and be ready to be used. So like we've been sharpening our sword, we've been shaping our surfboard, we've been glassing it, we've put the fin in, and now we have something we can ride. And we're still going to have to practice. Like we're still probably going to take some falls on big waves. But now we know how to hold our breath, and we know how to fall, and we know like what to do when we see big sets coming out the back. And there's all this new technology, like on Everest, like there's drones now that are like carrying supplies up the mountain, and the Sherpas don't have to do it. There's just like so much more help available to us now, even in the physical third dimensional capacity. It's just like a really cool time, and it's challenging, and it's awesome, and it's everything and nothing, and yeah, and it's going to continue to be. So the final words that I'm hearing my guide say is like, they just want you to know that it's really important to enjoy the journey. And if for no other reason, slowing down is just so important right now, because this is such a precious moment. This moment outside of time, it's like unbelievably precious. To live out a third dimensional life and wake up in that lifetime and then be part of that juxtaposition time. Like it doesn't happen. It's just not a normal part of an incarnation. As you know from our history, so many people lived and died and never were able to like really awaken to consciousness in the way that we've been gifted. So slow down and make every moment a vacation. Make every moment your retirement. Make time to enjoy the small things, because that, being in a body, touching another human, listening to the birds, experiencing light and dark and relaxation and love and hugs and a good conversation and a sunrise, like this is the most valuable things that a soul can have in the third dimension. And so don't miss it, because it is brilliant right now. And just, it's like when someone's been in the dark for a long time and like they first see the light, like it's super magical. And that's where we are. We're like, I mean, the light's been here, but we're like, it's been such a dimmed down version of like unconditional love. Like we've really not experienced unconditional love. Not much. Maybe you have like an aunt or like a sister or like a, random guy on the street who's just like doesn't need anything from you but like smiles at you every day. But any relationship that's been needing have any expectations or any conditions, like that's not unconditional love. And so like we're just starting, like the first speck of sunlight is just starting to come on the horizon. And so it's just like a really precious moment. And so as slow as you can, as much as you can enjoy, and that is going to allow this energy to really integrate, and you're going to start to be able to trust in yourself and your vibration and see the opportunities that come when you say yes to valuing and honoring yourself, and say no to interacting with the things that aren't light, because it's just really going to be honored now. So I feel like that's a good place to stop. It's now 3:43 in the morning. I need to go to bed. But I was in the shower, and maybe one of these days I'll do a video in the shower, because I feel like I get so many good ideas in the shower. Just sitting there like, okay, I don't have a pen or a video. Like, what do you want me to do with this? So that's what's going on here. I love you guys so much. Please, I would love to hear your comments below. If you have any thoughts, comments, or if there was anything that was unclear, I'd be happy to make another video. I love sharing my insights with you guys, and I hope they make sense. They do to me. But even if they don't, I'm just really appreciative that you made it this far in the video. So I hope you have a lovely evening, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye.